These are 4 ways to use ordinary rice, something you probably already have in your kitchen, to multiply your earthworm population and build genuinely richer soil, and ultimately produce more worm castings, the single most nutrient-dense output your soil biology can generate. Every one of them comes from published research, and the reason they work has nothing to do with what most gardening channels tell you. Most people get the feeding part completely wrong. Earthworms don't actually eat rice or banana peels or coffee grounds, at least not directly. What they consume are the bacteria and fungi that colonize decomposing organic matter, which means when you add a rice byproduct to your soil or worm bin, you're not feeding the worms at all. You're feeding the microbes that feed the worms. That distinction changes how you use every single one of these hacks. And here's why any of this matters. A landmark meta-analysis published in Scientific Reports in 2014 by Van Groningen and colleagues pulled together 462 data points across 58 studies spanning over 100 years, and what they found was striking. On average, earthworm presence in agricultural systems leads to a 25% increase in crop yield and a 23% increase in above-ground biomass. A follow-up study out of Colorado State University in 2023, published in Nature Communications, put a number on that global scale, estimating that earthworms contribute roughly 6.5% of global grain production, which translates to over 140 million metric tons of maize, rice, wheat, and barley every year. Boosting your worm population means tapping into one of the most powerful natural systems in agriculture. Let's get into the 4 hacks. Hack number 1, fermented rice water. That cloudy water you pour down the drain after rinsing rice before cooking is loaded with leached nutrients. According to Giuliano's classic rice chemistry reference from 1994, rinsing strips away up to 47% of the phosphorus, 41% of the potassium, 70% of the magnesium, and roughly 89 to 90% of surface starch. What makes this useful, though, came out of work at University Putra, Malaysia, led by Abba Nabai. Fermenting that rice wash water for about 3 days boosted its nutrient concentrations and beneficial bacterial populations considerably. Nabai's team isolated specific nitrogen-fixing and phosphorus and potassium-solubilizing bacteria living in the fermented water, species like Lactobacillus and Bacillus megaterium, which Nabai's group specifically identified in the fermented samples. A field trial they published in Helion in 2023 showed that half-rate fertilizer, combined with 3-day fermented rice water, matched or approached the performance of full-rate fertilizer over 3 planting cycles. One honest caveat here. That same research group reviewed the available literature and discovered that only 10% of studies on rice water in agriculture appeared in indexed scientific journals. The science behind this hack holds up, but the body of research remains thin. So treat fermented rice water as a supplement rather than a replacement for your existing soil program. Applying it takes almost no effort. Ferment your rice rinse water for about 3 days until it smells pleasantly sour, not foul. Then dilute it roughly 1 part fermented water to 10 parts plain water. Pour it onto damp soil and mulch afterward to reduce leaching. All those microbes you're introducing and feeding become food for your worms, and over time, those worms convert that microbial biomass into vermicast, worm castings, which is where the real humus building happens in your soil. Before we get to hack number 2, if you're finding this useful, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe. Doing that helps this channel reach more gardeners like you, and keeps this kind of research-backed content coming. Hack number 2, parboiled rice hulls. Out of everything on this list, this hack carries the strongest university backing. Rice hulls, the outer shells removed during milling, contain about 15% silica, silicon dioxide or SiO2, by weight, along with high cellulose and lignin content, which means they break down very slowly and don't tie up nitrogen the way raw wood chips can. That silica content, worth noting, is also linked in plant physiology research to improved cell wall strength and disease resistance, though that's a secondary benefit here. Michael Evans at the University of Arkansas ran the foundational research on this. His work specifically evaluated parboiled rice hulls as a perlite replacement in horticultural growing media, and showed that parboiled rice hulls, incorporated up to about 50% by volume in potting mixes, delivered equivalent or higher drainage and air-filled porosity compared to perlite with no negative effects on root or shoot growth. Purdue University confirmed those findings and added something worth knowing, that unlike bark, rice hulls don't absorb plant growth regulators. One Purdue researcher pointed out that perlite production is energy-intensive and non-renewable. relying on strip-mined volcanic glass, whereas rice hulls are an agricultural byproduct that would otherwise go to waste. And rice hulls are neither energy-intensive nor non-renewable. The parboiling step matters here, by the way. Parboiling partially sterilizes the hulls and gelatinizes residual starch, which stabilizes them and makes their performance more consistent than raw hulls, which can vary batch to batch. Practically speaking, use them at roughly 30% by volume in your raised beds or container mixes. Drainage improves, compaction drops, and you end up with the loose aerated soil structure that earthworms thrive in. For long-term no-till beds, blend them with pumice or lava rock, since the hulls will eventually break down on their own. Hack number 3, rice bran. Of all 4 hacks, this one carries the strongest evidence as a direct worm booster. Rice bran is the nutrient-rich outer layer removed during milling, and what sets it apart is its density. About 2.5% nitrogen, 2% phosphorus, and 1.8% potassium packed into a material with a carbon-to-nitrogen ratio, or CN ratio, near 19:1. For reference, a CN ratio around 20:1 is considered ideal for fast microbial decomposition, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to grow worms. Only about 8 to 12% of the rice kernel by weight, it concentrates much of the grain's total nutrition. Porzamani and Gavi at Isfahan University of Medical Sciences tested rice bran mixed with food waste in vermicomposting beds stocked with Eisenia fetida, red wigglers, and what they found was telling. Higher rice bran content drove composting temperatures up to 63 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill pathogens. Carbon-to-nitrogen ratios dropped hard, final nitrogen levels climbed, and across the whole composting process, nitrogen increased by an average of roughly 300%. The finished vermicast from those beds was exceptionally high quality, dense with humus compounds and available nutrients. Beyond worm bins, rice bran serves as the traditional carrier for bokashi fermentation, a system developed by Dr. Teruo Higa at the University of the Ryukyus, where the bran gets inoculated with lactic acid bacteria, specifically Lactobacillus species, along with yeast. Restraint matters with this one, though. Rice bran is high-energy material, so sprinkle it in thin dustings in your worm bin, or work small amounts into your top layer of garden soil. Watch for signs of trouble. If your worm bin overheats above 35 degrees Celsius, or the worms start trying to escape, back off immediately and add dry carbon bedding. More is not better with rice bran. Hack number 4. Composted cooked rice. Caution runs highest with this last hack. Cooked rice breaks down fast and feeds decomposer microbes, which makes it genuinely useful, but doing it wrong creates real problems. Moist and sticky by nature, cooked rice compacts into clumps that go anaerobic and turn sour, and on top of that, it attracts rodents, birds, and insects. The fix comes down to one rule. Never scatter cooked rice on open soil. Bury it at least 6 inches deep in an active compost pile. Use a sealed tumbler, run it through bokashi first, or add small amounts of unseasoned rice to your worm bin. Hot composting works best because the heat breaks everything down quickly and handles the pest issue at the same time. Think of cooked rice as a microbial accelerant for your compost system. Carbohydrates in the rice feed bacteria within days, and those bacteria become worm food, but only when the rice stays managed inside a composting system rather than sitting exposed on the ground. All 4 of these hacks connect back to one principle. Earthworm research consistently shows that organic matter availability drives worm populations more than any other single factor. Clive Edwards at Ohio State University, widely recognized as the modern authority on earthworm ecology before his passing in 2021, established that worm densities range from just a few to over 1,000 per square meter, and the difference comes down to how much microbial food sits in the soil. Van Groningen's meta-analysis reinforced that by showing the positive effects of earthworms on yield, grow larger when more residue returns to the soil. Rice byproducts, the water, the hulls, the bran, and composted grain, give you a cheap and accessible way to return that organic matter and build genuine humus. The stable, long-lived fraction of soil organic matter that holds nutrients, retains moisture, and anchors the whole soil food web. None of them qualify as miracle products. They're soil conditioners and microbial food sources that, used consistently, feed the biology that feeds your worms, and those worms produce the worm castings that build the soil that grows your food. If this helped you out, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 4 hacks you plan to try first. I respond to every comment, and I'll see you in the next one.